The early access cards for the champion region is now out, and I'm so excited to make this video specifically because I'll show you the mistakes you must avoid and also different tips. And keep in mind, I may not follow every single one of these tips myself because I'm just so excited, and I will most likely go out there and make a lot of mistakes with these early access cards. But as we see, we have a contender, challenger and also champion being introduced in 45 minutes at the moment because I'm filming this a little bit early, so the video will be ready after the launch. But me personally think I don't need to look at the champion cards to make an opinion because we know what will happen. There will be such a big hype, there will be a lot of prizes given away in the new in-season competitions specifically for the champion region, and therefore we will see the prizes boom. And specifically compared to contender and challenger, I think there will be a bigger premium, but I will use these as examples first, contender and also challenger, because we know how much hype there is around these early access cards. And first of all, buy one, win one extra. That is a little bit of a clickbait statement, you can call it, because there is a 95% chance of you not getting a card, but you will then of course get essence where you can craft the card. So in one way it's 100% right, and that is something I think a lot of new managers will look at and be so excited and go out there and overpay a lot, because as you can see there is much better examples. But this guy right here is a substitute and a goalkeeper substitute. He hasn't gotten a minute in his career, I think. If we go to his all-time score, yeah, he haven't played one game in his professional career, which is covered by Sorare, and still he got sold for almost 10 euros, where his normal price is around 0.2 euros. So that is like, I think, almost 50x his classic price, which says a lot. Because when you go here, you can see here, yeah, you get very excited, buy one, win one extra. Don't go on that mistakes. In many of the cases, if you're trying to get a player like, not Ya Sung Lee, I mean Joe Kesting, you could get very excited because you think, if I can get him, I could win, for example, another really good player, for example, Bergvin or Abu Bakar, or like, I'm just trying to name some contender or I mean challenger players. And that is my point with this. Like, don't read this, you need to take this with a pinch of salt. That is what I'm trying to say. And also when it comes to the different mistakes you can make inside this, is to be very keen on one player. For example, we saw with Cameron Carter-Vickers, he started off actually pretty low in price. He was around 18 euros and around 8 euros more than last sale. But then after a while we saw his card spike up for some reason. And that is mainly because collectors see, okay, his price isn't that much more than his all-season card. Maybe it's worth it to go out there and get him. And then you see different collectors fighting against each other. And that is the worst thing that can happen to you. And if you are a new manager, you probably don't know this, but there are a collection bonus on these cards for next season, so you get extra experience on the cards for collecting on them, as you can scroll down and see here for the different cards. And then you have the hype because they are in-season early access cards, and also because they will get you those collection bonus from auction house and also instant buy market. And not just that, you will also have a chance to get a new card or get essence, and therefore the hype gets unreal when there is different collectors that want that collection bonus as well. So if you know you're up against a collector for example Celtic, if you want Cameron Carter-Vickers, or for example Ya Sung Lee, or Bibu, or Maximilian Arnold, or Sæterer, or Orban, those type of players, if you know you're up against, for example, Leipzig collectors that will pay a huge premium to be able to get that card early to boost his experience, in many of the cases it isn't worth it to try to fight against him. Just let him get the card and you will be happy by just going for the next one. And this is specifically limited, and we have seen different price graphs. For example, this one with Carter-Vickers, I think this is a really interesting one, because for me it doesn't make too much sense. You could have gotten him for 20 euros, and then there is some people just days after spending 80 euros on him, and then just days after that again people getting him for around 35 euros. Like, there is such a big difference between some of these cards, and that is something that is really interesting, to go in the right find the right timing. And here we can also see early on he didn't have the most premium. Actually, he went up and then down again in price. And we also have an example here with Tavernier, which has got rumored away to a Turkish club, I'm pretty sure of, Trabzonspor, I think. And as you can see here, he started off just insane, 120 euros for a limited card, and now he's around 50 euros, so that is half the price. And of course, there is difference between the cards right here, because James Tavernier is an example of a card that isn't getting produced before and now. And that is mainly when it comes to you purchasing the players, what you need to keep in mind. And also, one of the worst mistakes you can make is to go up against the collector of that team. I can promise you that. But now let's talk about what type of players do you want to purchase, because that is a question I've gotten numerous times. Because as you can see on the market here, there is some players that have gotten huge premiums because of their new season cards, their hype around it. Me personally think there is a big difference that you need to keep in mind, and I think with James Tavernier it's a really good example. Because on one side you have a really expensive player you can go for in the early access cards, or you have the really cheap players. Me personally like to purchase players that is in between tier 3s, tier 4s or tier 2s. I think buying tier 5s could be really expensive, especially for a limited point of view, as we saw with this bench option here in goal, just selling for ridiculous prices that you will never be able to buy back, or I mean win back, unless he gets a move away or becomes the starter goalkeeper. Or I want you to purchase players that have transfer risks. But keep in mind, when I talk about transfer risks, I don't mean the example with Tavernier. If you, for example, buy a really good player that is currently at the bench of a champion club, I think it could be a really good idea to buy an in-season card of him. A good example could be Anthony Martial, because when you purchase him, his in-season price will most likely not have that premium compared to other that is expected to actually start for their team next season. Because many Sorare managers will try to look at the safe starters for next season where they can yield in cash. Therefore, players like Anthony Martial, which is currently a free agent, won't get that much notice. And the opposite will go for James Tavernier, which is playing currently as the best possible SO5 club, taking set pieces, taking penalties, taking everything, but he is rumored away from Rangers. For example, he could join to that Trabzonspor club in Turkey, or Saudi Arabia, or different leagues and clubs. And that is what I hate by purchasing a player like James Tavernier, because the only positive thing that can happen is that you don't lose money. That is the only positive thing. And of course, if he stays, yeah, you may earn some money on him in competitions, but you see this graph right here, you are risking a lot and winning very little, if that makes sense. And that is something you need to keep in mind if you are buying expensive players. Can they, for example, with Ederson at times, he was so expensive, and I need to just show with Ederson. And let's say you have a player you want to buy, but he's in the same position as Ederson were recently. You can see that it's like a roller coaster when it comes to his price, because as you can see here he was expected to join Saudi Arabia. Now he wasn't expected to join Saudi Arabia. So the worst time to, for example, purchase this guy right here was in this period. He is at one of the best defensive clubs in the world, or one of the best clubs in the world. So the only transfer for him would be a Saudi club that could offer more money. Another player I wouldn't recommend to buy is Casemiro. Those type of players that are currently in a really good club, getting good scores, but if they get a move, that could ruin their price completely. And that is one of the biggest questions I have, is that how much are you willing to pay for a risk? Because of course, when you purchase Casemiro now, when we can see his price, he's around 5 euros. But let's say you want to purchase the in-season card, that will most likely be worth even more. So you are then once again paying an extra premium on that premium of the uncertainty of his future. And that is what I'm trying to tell you guys. If I were you, I would try to find a price mark between, in limited, 30 to 5 euros, and maybe or mainly try to get those tier 4s, tier 3s and tier 2s. and in rare try to buy a maximum of 200 euros, and that is just my opinion. That will be my strategy. Of course, do your own strategy, but that is my main example of what I think is the most safe thing to do. Of course, if you are on a higher budget, of course you could purchase more expensive players, but for my budget specifically, which is a medium budget, I would personally go for that. Try to find, it's much better to have multiple tier 4s, tier 3s and tier 2s, and instead of purchasing risky tier 2s, tier 1s and tier 0s, in my opinion. And therefore try to find those players like here, for example, Coop Miners. This is a really interesting one, by the way. And try to purchase those players that is worth maximum 200 euros and, for example, over 25 euros in rare, in that territories, and try to find those hidden gems and avoid going on those mistakes on purchasing, like spending extra money just because you're up against a collector, or you're purchasing a transfer risk, or you're purchasing a Saudi potential candidate. And therefore those things is so important, especially now, because those tips is so important when you are currently playing and purchasing classic season cards. But those tips get even more important when they are in season, because if something goes wrong there, you could lose 3, 4 or even 5 times as much money because you're paying that premium, and expect to pay a premium on these guys. And as you can see, it's only 35 minutes left. I'm so excited. I will prepare for the stream right now. So if you want to rewatch the stream, I will try to craft a card. I will also try to win a card by purchasing from the auction house or instant buy market. And that is also one of my biggest tips, is to stay cool, stay composed, because the prices will go down eventually. I can promise you that, or I can't promise you that, but I'm pretty sure of that. But as I said at the start of the video, I won't follow that advice, because I will try to get some early, because I don't think I will keep my composedness, to say the least. But yeah, I'm so excited for this. And leave in the comments, do you have any tips for me or other Sorare managers that may be new? So just leave that in the comments if you want to. And also, who will be the main players that you will purchase, because I'm so excited for this. And yeah, bye bye and take care. Peace.